Right, quick one about my setup I've got here. Right, just thinking to myself about how maybe people don't think you can put if they've got a LifePo system and they've got an NMC, nickel, magnesium, cobalt system, they can't put them together, right? They think, oh, right, now, because they're different voltages, you see, right? So this here, right, excuse me, it's just been thrown in, a bit of work going on. Now, this system here, right, this one here, these are nickel, these are NMC, nickel, magnesium, cobalt, right? So this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 times 3.7, right? They get you to 29.2, I think that the charge voltage is, right? Now, these ones here are LifePo4s, right? Like these ones here, right? And there's 8 of them. There's 8 of them, right? Now I've got a smart BMS on that, only for the fact that I just fancied having a go with one, right? It was lucky I did buy a smart BMS and not just a dumb BMS, right? That's when I would have had a problem. I also fitted, which is imperative that you have one with these second-hand batteries and with new ones as well, I think, right? Because these they're a nightmare. These LifePos are, especially, right? This is a flying capacitors one. Now I've only got a 24 volt. This is a 24 volt pack. This here. If you've got a 48 volt pack, these things just don't work. Yeah, people have problems with them. They can't do a 16, but the 12 volt, the 24 volt pack, where you've got 8 cells, right? They work great, fantastic. And what they do is we're using these capacitors. They're called a flying balancer, right? Flying capacitors balancer. Using these capacitors, what they do when one of your cells is going high or one of your cells is going low, when it's discharging, one of the cells could go low quicker than all the others, and what'll happen is the BMS is looking at all the cells, and if that one cell goes down below a certain level, it'll shut everything down. So for the sake of one cell, you've had a problem. So what happens is this flying balancer takes the power out of all the high cells and puts it into the low cell and prevents it from dying. Right, brilliant. And also, when it's charging up, you can have the same problem where one of the cells, sometimes that cell, right, can have a problem where it goes high, or sometimes it can be a different cell, right? It's mental, right? So what can happen is that that cell, the cell that's going high, what it does, this device here will take the over voltage and then bleed it into all the other cells little by little, right? And that will prevent, and it's saved my life on this one, and it's saved on my girlfriend's father. He had I bought him a 4 set of second-hand cells to keep the price down for him, right? And then what was happening was he was calling me up 3 times a week saying things not working. I was going down in the BMS, which I made another video. I made a video on where I've just got 4 cells together. That's the one where I short out the BMS to get it up and running. Well, that BMS was activating and going open circuit, right? And that was the reasons, because basically he was getting through the night. He was, he had definitely enough power. He had 4 100 amp of these cells here, and they were when he was getting through. All he was doing, having a fan. He had a small 12 volt fan and a light. And he couldn't even get through the night, because what was happening, one of those cells was deciding to just drop down, right, and then wreck the party and operate the BMS. So when I fitted a 4 cell flying capacitor balancer, it completely stopped. I've never had a problem since, right? So that's great. Now, reason for what I want to talk about now is that reason for the video is that I've got 2 different voltage packs here. This pack here is an NMC pack, and you charge this up with one of them bike chargers, which you can buy, which I've got here, right? Now that charges to 29.2 volts, right? Well, because what happens is when the sun goes down, right, I may have been using the solar that day, right, where I put the switch in, I put it across the manual like that, turn this. Now we're on. Now everything is connected, everything connected to this switch here. All these wires, right, are they're all now using the power from this inverter, right? So we're sorted now. If I leave that on all day, that's fine, right? But as you can see, because this one here's got, that's got, I don't know if you can see this, it's 26.7, because I've been going all the way through the night. I've been using battery power through the night, heating a tank of water, which is what I do. And in the morning, that replenishes back up in because the sun comes out. Now, if for some reason I get to the end of the day, let's say for instance, I come home at like 6:30, 7 o'clock at night or whatever, and that is still in that position, my girlfriend hasn't, she knows what to do. Click and it'll zzz like that. Right, it goes back to auto, so it goes back to mains power. If she hasn't done that, this lot, well, I would have used the batteries all the way down. So what I've got then is I've got a timer plug. I've got, this is electronic, you know, like a Wi-Fi timer plug, and I've got this schedule, so it switches this timer on, which so this timer switches this bike charger on, right? 29.2. Right, for NMC batteries, like you see on these little e-bikes, right? Those are NMC batteries, because they're the best, really, right? People say they're not as safe, but this one hasn't set on fire, you know what I mean? And then I've just got it going onto there. So this will charge at 10 amps at 29.2. Now, that's fine, right? When you're down at 26, 27, 28 amps, that's fine. 27 volts, 28 volts. Now, this comes on, I've got this to come on around about, well, as the sun goes down, around about 4:30, 5 o'clock-ish, this comes on. So I know that whatever happens, I'm going to have, because if there is a FIDAP, a power outage, which there could just be one, or we could be left with no power for 3-4 hours, happens many, many times, right? Especially in the rainy season, which is just finished. The rainy season, you will be, as soon as the rain starts hitting the ground miles away, right? As soon as the rain starts hitting the ground miles away, and then the wind starts, right? And the wind comes through, goes through all the forests and the woods and the jungles where they've got power lines going through. And instead of waiting for the power lines to have some problem with the power line going down, they just shut off. They shut off the power from the electrical grid in the town, in the big town locally. And so you get no electric, and that could go on for hours, or sometimes just 20 minutes. You just don't know. So, you know, I want a full battery. When it comes to the evening, I want a full battery, and that's why I've got this charger come on. Right, so the battery charger comes on, right? Now, these two packs are joined together at this point here, this start point, look, right? This is the pos and neg of the NMC pack, and then the orange ones are the LifePo pack, right? They all come up to the same point. I can't charge them with two different chargers, right? I can only charge them with one charger, and I do want to charge them with one charger, right? So, luckily, I had a problem, right, where what was happening was I was charging with this charger to 29.2 volts, but at the time I never thought about it. And I just thought these were 24 volt. These are two 24 volt packs. They charge to 29-ish volts, right? And then they come all the way down. So the 24 volts is a median voltage, right? Now, a friend of mine said to me, well, what voltages have you got? When I had the problem was that this BMS here, this smart BMS, was tripping, right? And I was losing this whole pack, and I was going, why is this, right? And it works out, oh, she's just been around the back of the house. That's nice. Now, the reason was because LifePo's in the settings. This is a Dalib smart BMS. In the settings, if this BMS goes above something like 28.5 volts, not, you know, if the overall voltage goes above 28.5 volts, and if one of the cells goes above, it's all in settings, you can change everything. If the settings if the voltage of one of the cells goes above, I think it's 3.65 volts, it'll also, the BMS will disconnect, right? Now, that's what was happening, right? Either I was getting a high overall voltage across this pack, right, or I was getting, one of the cells was going high, because I was charging up to 20, it was getting up to like 28 volts, and I was carrying on going, You know what I mean? So what I did, and luckily I've got the smart BMS on this pack here, right? So so what I did was I just went into settings, and you can set a voltage of a charge voltage cutoff, right? So if it goes above a certain voltage, you can just cut off. That's what I did. I set charge voltage, the charge voltage cutoff. Shut up, Dang! I'm on making a YouTube video. Dang! Oh, he's gone. Healthy breakfast. Oh, he's in a bad mood. Right. So what I did, I changed the it's got, you can set it also. So if the voltage goes below a certain, I haven't thought about doing that. If the voltage goes below a certain level, you can actually shut off. You can shut off the discharge. You know what I mean? So I've got it so that if my charge goes above 28 volts, the charge shuts off. So no voltage is actually allowed to charge in, and then the bike charger can carry on charging this one to 29.2 volts. And when we get there, the bike charger flashes between shows red and green light, right? And then we're finished charging. Now if I do need to use the battery packs because we have a power outage, it'll start using, I've noticed, it will start using the highest voltage first. So that's this pack here. So when this pack gets down from 29.2 volts, which it gets up to off that charger, when it gets down to 28 and they're both the same, then they both get used together. They both come down at the same rate, which is pretty snazzy. Yeah, so it's sort of, what it does, it sort of uses just this one first, and you end up with a full battery pack. You always know you've got a full battery pack until this one's got down to 28 volts. Yeah. So there we go. Right, there you go then. Also, there might be a feature, which I'm going to look at now in the BMS, in the smart BMS, where I can actually set it so that this pack can never go down below a certain voltage. You know what I mean? Which I think there is actually. So I don't really think I need to look at it. It will be something like 23 volts or something like that. Okay then. Right, that's the end of that.